Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to my channel, and today I am talking about the worst books that I've read in 2018. Now, I need to preface this by saying these are the books that this criteria is based on only on the books that I've actually read in 2019. These are books in my opinions. I've kind of consulted with my Goodreads to kind of remind myself of certain books that I read this year because I kept mixing up some of them from last year. This is my opinion. Sis, you don't have to agree. If you don't agree, you can leave a comment, but don't come at me sideways because just don't. But yeah, so these are just some of the books that did not hit with me. I actually don't even own most of these books because I would have donated them if I'm going to be very honest. But I'm going to try to explain why I didn't like them. There are only 5. There are 5 books in this category this time. So without further ado, let's just get started. One of the first DNFs of 2018 was The Tiger's Daughter. I don't even know who it's by. We'll put it here. Oh my God, let me see if I can remember. So, I don't know. This book was about 2 girls. And I remember getting like 70 or 80 pages in, still not knowing the characters' names, still not caring what the characters were doing. It was such a boring book. So I never even finished it. So I can't even really comment, but I will say this was a DNF for a reason. Okay, so this was probably the most disappointing book of 2018, and that is because it was on my most anticipated reading list of 2018, and that is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. Now, I will preface this by saying I felt like the book was written really well. I have no problem with that. I actually plan on reading more of this author because I felt like the book writing itself, the storytelling was phenomenal. I felt like I saw everything going on in this book. With that being said, this book was absolutely bonkers crazy. It was so much happening in this book. It was disturbing. It was depressing. It was moments you felt like you were on an acid trip. There were hyena women raping men. Like, it was so much. I finished the book for the book club, but no one else finished the book for the book club. It was just so disturbing. And again, I don't know if it's because the genre was just too heavy for me the time that I was reading it, but it's about a hunter named Tracker, and he's looking for this boy who is like possessed, but like you hear the story is being retold. So like parts 1 through 4 is him like recapping what has happened in his life. And there's a lot of rape. It's a lot of killing. It's just a lot of violence. I didn't quite understand why a lot of it was happening. And to the point where I kind of lost the story a couple of times. I had to remind myself, like, this is actually him searching for a boy. Like, yeah, there's a panther and like, I don't know what's going on with that. And it was a lot. Like, I felt like maybe I needed to understand more of how the story was written or like what it was written from to understand it. But I will be donating this book to the library. There's just no way I'm going to reread this book. It was just too much for me. Ironically, another seat at the table book club book of this year was She Would Be King. And I just want to point out, this book was so bad, it set all 3 of us, me, Oshala, and Troy, it set us all into a reading slump. Like, all of us had no desire to read after this book. And if I'm not mistaken, one of us didn't even finish this book. It's supposed to tell the story of 3 different types of people who come together during a war. Except that never happened. When we finally get to the actual war that we're supposed to be reading about, the book is over. It was such a weird book. I don't recommend it. I didn't enjoy it. I was very confused. Again, I felt like the writing was fine. It's just the story kept leaving me with WTF moments. So I think I put it at like a 2 or something, and I only gave it 2 stars because I felt like the author's writing was phenomenal. I just felt like the story sucked. Another book is The Everlasting Rose by Danielle Clayton. And hear me out. I did actually enjoy this book, but the reason that it's in the worst for me is because A, I didn't read a lot of books this year, and 2, I felt like this was supposed to be the end of a duology, and it was very lazily done, in my opinion. I felt like the way that the book ended, it was literally just like, it was one of those things where like in a movie, after a big battle scene where the person passes out and then they wake up and it's like all this stuff has changed. It was all of that basically, except like there was no battle or anything. Like chick just passed out and she woke up and everything was great. Everything was awesome. And I just felt like we had worked so hard to get to this point and I expected more. I felt like the themes of the book was really good. The messages that the book was trying to give was really good. When we finally got down to the end of it where everything was supposed to come together, instead of giving us a story, it was a blackout. And then, hey sis, all of this happened while you were knocked out. I expected better. The last book is actually a graphic novel, and it is The Legend of Korra. Now, for everybody who's going to get all mad at me again, it's fine. I stand by this. I don't think that Korra's sexuality should have been the focus of Korra. Even in the actual animated series, it was very clear that Korra could not handle being in a relationship and doing her avatar duties. I feel like Aang understood that. Aang was like, yo, I'm feeling Katara, but like we can't be together right now because stuff is popping off. Instead, Korra, I don't know if it's because she's a woman or what, but like they've made it seem like her main focus is her relationship. And now that it's a lesbian relationship, now they've really made it seem like the whole purpose of her books is to reiterate, hey, we're lesbians. And like now all of her family friends have to be like, we love it. Meanwhile, there's a whole spirit thing going on. And her main focus is getting back down to her girlfriend who fell and scraped her knee and do this major kissing scene. Like, I love Avatar The Last Airbender. I wanted Korra to be on the level of The Last Airbender, or at least for the story to continue in a way that was like great. But honestly, the graphic novel disappointed me mainly because the focus of the graphic novel was not the fact that there was a spirit actually going out there and like invading humans and Korra needing to bring the balance back as the Avatar, or even trying to figure out what her life would be like because the Avatar is different now. Like, she didn't do any of that. The main focus was her and Asami's relationship that I could care less about, because I still feel like they should have been best girlfriends. Like, everything does not have to be that kind of love. Like, platonic love is strong and amazing, and we need more badass girl books where the girl is not losing her ability and her strength and her amazingness because she's in love, girl or guy. Like, this book would have been so much stronger if it was her and her bestie like handling people. Perfect. Neither one of them needed a man or a woman. Instead, they had to make them come together because they wanted to make a statement. And it's like, stop pandering. If you're not going to give us a good lesbian story, don't give it to us, because this feels like a pandering book, and I will no longer be reading Legend of Korra until they get it together, until she goes back to being the super crazy hard butt chick who was amazing at every part of bending except airbending, but now that she knows airbending, she should be bomb. Until she goes back to focusing on being the Avatar, which is what the Avatar is supposed to have to do until they bring peace, I don't care, because Kyoshi knew how to handle it. Kyoshi was obviously bisexual. Kyoshi's love life was a back burner situation because she knew she was the Avatar and she had to handle business. Now, if they wrote stories about Korra the way that they wrote The Rise of Kyoshi, then I could have something to talk about. But I'm sick of the sick love puppy that is Korra. That's just what it is. So those were the 5 worst books that I read in 2019 so far. I haven't finished December, but you know, things can happen. My question to you guys is, what are some of the books this year that you've read that you were like, no, never again? Leave them down below in the comment section. And until tomorrow, guys, bye.